Hey, folks, welcome to the pre-show. It's not a real show yet. Wendy's not here yet. She was not feeling well a little earlier, and she wasn't sure if she'd make it in, but she said she's going to make it. That she might be a little tiny bit late, but we'll get this thing rolling in style if she's here or not. So, let's see. I got to move things that have been moved and set things up. We go live on the radio station at 3 minutes after the top of the hour, which is about a minute and a half from now. So stay tuned. We'll go dark just for a few minutes. Those of you who watch the Intrepid radio program, you know how this all works. And then we'll roll. 24 degrees Fahrenheit. That was our high temperature today, Niall. And it's actually in the sunshine out of my driveway. It's gorgeous. I stood out there in shirt sleeves, and it was nice. So there you go. Woohoo, says Uncle Dave. There is Uncle Dave. All right, and I'm trying this new drink here. I don't know if it's supposed to be an energy drink. Ooh La Lemon Peach Lemonade. We'll see how it goes. And we're putting it in a Stella Artois goblet. And yeah, 24 was our high today. So, all right, we got about 30 seconds and we go live. And Wendy will be joining us very shortly. So everybody stand by. Okay, we're going to go dark right now. Sit tight. Be right back. Hey, folks, welcome to the program. We are live here on Roberts and Robertson, but so far, it's just the Roberts part. The Robertson, which is definitely the better part of this show, is a little bit delayed, but she'll be here. And pardon me for those of you watching, those of you listening on the radio station, you're not seeing this. Those of you watching, I've got to reach behind because I neglected to plug in my headset. Boom, now we're plugged in. That's so we don't get some crazy feedback coming through on the radio station. So welcome, everybody. Glad that you made it here. Good to see you all. Some of my regulars, some of you are not regulars, but I've seen you before. Welcome to the program. We got Niall Parkinson from Ireland. And one of these days, I'll get a perfect Irish accent down. Niall, just for you. I listen to you when you talk, so I can get all the little nuance of Irish. So I thought I had a pretty good down in my leprechaun joke, you know, when they're going and, pardon me, do you have any wee leprechaun nuns here in your convent? Now that's probably a regional dialect or accent in your area. But anyway, I try. Uncle Dave is here. Good afternoon, Uncle Dave Potter. Uncle Dave Potter. Good to have you here, brother. Glad that you made it in. And I saw Roger Rabbit quite a bit earlier. I had some great comments before the show was on. And that's some good stuff, Roger. We might address some of that today. Niall said, how cold is... I said, how cold is damn cold? He said, it's damn cold here. So it's what? What did you say in Celsius speak? -4 Celsius. And that here where we are is 24 degrees Fahrenheit, which we got sunshine and the sun is out beating on the front house of the house and the drive out there in the front yard. We've got a southern exposure there. So we're standing out in that 24 degrees. I could take off my jacket and be in shirt sleeves, and it was very nice. It was almost like winter sun tanning out on the driveway today. Anita Palmer, good to have you. She says a joke at our house is if someone is smelling a bit funky, we tell them it's past the 1st or the 15th. You need a bath. That reminds me of my son, Sam, many years ago. He's now pushing 22 years old. And when he was a young teenager, and teenage boys, once they go into puberty, they start to develop sense, shall we say, not SENSE, but SCNTS. And he's laying on the living room floor doing something, looking at a book or a laptop or something like that. And I stepped over him, and guess what? He reeked to high heaven. And I said, son, when's the last time you took a shower? And he looked up at me and he said, you mean this week? And I said, get in the shower. There's Wendy. I can add her. I've just got her still photograph. How you doing, Wendy? Oh, her mic is muted. So she's there. I think that means she's got, oh, there she is in all her glory.
Hello. Did you miss me?
I can't hear you.
Oh, hang on a second.
Not sure.
How's that? Is that better?
Let me double check what's going on with your microphone. Sorry for the little technical thing here, folks. It says your mic is up, and yet I am not catching it.
No,
not hearing your mic.
And everyone
I'm hearing myself in my headset,
and
but I'm not hearing you.
Oh, hang on a second.
That's odd.
Ooh.
Let me just double check my settings, my audio. There's my audio. It says I've got audio. Say something to me, Wendy.
Hello. How are you?
It's not picking up your audio.
Ooh.
For some reason.
Do you want me to call back?
I don't. Yeah, call me back. Call back in. Let's give that a shot. All right. Sorry, folks. Little technical difficulties. Sometimes those happen. It's just the way it is. So, oh, you could hear us both, Anita says. For some reason, I could not hear Wendy. That's really odd. Now, it's funny because I couldn't hear the opening music either. So let's see if we've got her. Nope, I am not getting your sound.
Can you not hear me?
People say they can hear you. I can hear myself, but I'm not picking up you.
Well, as long as they can hear me.
Let me try something. I hate wasting show time with this, folks, but we got to do it. Dave says they can hear Wendy. I can't hear her, though. So it's going to be really tough to respond to her.
Yeah.
Give me a 2 count.
1, 2.
Nope.
No.
You are not there for some reason. I have no idea what that issue might be. Checking my hardware, checking my software. Why don't you, even though I can't hear you, and I read lips, but not that well, why don't you go ahead and talk a little bit about what we're going to be talking about today? Get that topic rolling in people's minds, and let's see what's going on here.
Can you hear me now?
Your mic.
There you go. I muted my mic. Well, thank you. So first of all, I know I'm late to the party. Not been feeling too well today, and I had some really tough news to deal with, so I'm trying to process that right now. So thanks everybody for waiting. What we're talking about today is if you have a partner or a friend or...
I did, Uncle Dave.
Or a lover.
Sorry, Wendy, if I'm talking over you. I still can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Having issues, it asks. You having issues? Yes, I am. Nope, I don't need that.
How weird, because it's all working fine this end, isn't it?
My settings are all on. The audio is on, default audio codec.
How weird.
Default headphones built in. USB audio codec.
I'm just literally going at the chat right now. Everyone else that can hear us, just
sorry about this, folks. I'm sorry, but I make no apologies. It's kind of the way it is.
They're just going to have to listen to me.
Headphones built in? No. Headphones built in. Keep talking, Wendy.
Yep. So what we were talking about today.
Any of these will pick you up.
If you have a partner, a lover, or a friend, and there's something that you really need,
I have no idea what that is.
How do you tell them when you don't know how?
Auto adjust for the mic volume.
So, like, this is going to be one
me.
of those today.
I'm going to take that off.
Hello. Can you not hear me yet? No.
Audio.
Nope, he can't hear me, guys.
It is not doing it.
I'm looking at the chat, guys, because I know you can hear me. So I just want to say hello, David. Hi, Paul. Hi, Roger. Nita.
Odd.
Hello, Niall. Thank you. If I've missed anybody, I'm so sorry. But thank you for everyone that's joined us today. You can hear me. Never mind about Scotty, because you get him 3 nights a week. You only get me once.
I'm still working on this, Wendy. So you keep going over there.
In the comments, what we're asking is that, you're with someone and you really think the world of them, or you really like them and you really care about them. But
input device.
There's something that you need to tell them, or there's something about them that
how's this for riveting radio? Output device.
How do you tell them?
Headphones.
Poor Scotty. How am I going to tell Scotty that we
see if there's anything I do that's going to pick you back in here?
Any minute now, we're going to be in stereo, guys, aren't we? I'm just trying to read that, so bear with me.
There.
Just keep talking. I told him to mute his mic. No, he hasn't muted it yet.
Nothing there.
Scotty in Joe Biden mode. He hasn't. I think you've still got your mic on, Scotty, but you can't hear me, can you? No.
I am not getting sound.
Oh my God, it's just me.
Hey, let's do me a favor here. 413, Uncle Dave, can you call in for a second? I want to see if I can pick up your mic. I want to see if I can isolate where the problem is coming in.
Uncle Dave, come and join us. Any minute now, Uncle Dave.
Nothing.
Apparently they can hear me on YouTube.
But he can hear her on
YouTube
but not on Subspace.
Yeah.
I didn't hear the opening music on Subspace. This is Russ, the owner of the station.
Okay.
So I don't know what to do about that. I don't know what's causing that all of a sudden.
Click on and click off, or?
Here, I will mute my mic. And you go ahead, Wendy, and talk for a bit. We'll try to figure it out. Wait, let's see if we get Dave.
Uncle Dave. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me? Either.
Okay.
Uncle Dave, can you hear me?
Scotty, what I think you should do is you should call in, and we then would be able to hear you.
Uncle Dave and I will do the show. Can you hear me, Dave?
Yes.
Perfect.
Scotty, call into the show, then we can hear you.
He can't
and
hear
you. Can hear us.
Apparently, he can't hear you either.
Oh, I'm trying to send it in the chat. Hold on. It's not letting me do a voice to text from Streamland.
How odd.
What a weird day.
It is a very weird day. I can read the comments here. Where are we? Restart your own setup, Scotty, and hand the show over to Wendy. Tech support live. Thanks, Niall. Great. No pressure.
Okay, now to get you back without ending this here. Try that. Oh, I still have picture. Good. Yep. I thought I was going to dump myself out.
Still here. So,
Anyways, let's just have conversation till Scotty joins us. So
I think we're going to have to do the show. So today's show, Dave, was about what happens if you know someone and they're a lover, a friend, or a partner or family, and there is something that is bothering you. Maybe it could be that you need to tell them something that's not going to be very nice. Maybe they don't smell too good. Maybe they don't take care of themselves that good, or maybe there's an issue. How do you approach, if you're sort of new with them, you've not been around them for a while, how do you broach the subject and say to them, look, I have to tell you this?
that is a good question. I think that ultimately in any situation, honesty is the best approach.
Yeah.
We have an expression in the Masons called whispering wise counsel.
Yeah.
Sometimes a brother will say something that offends another brother or do something that is kind of unmasonic, and we don't want to make a huge deal out of it. We don't want to, we're not looking to bring somebody up on Masonic charges or crush their life or anything like that. We just want to say, hey, that's not really the way we behave as Masons. And
Testing.
And so, we can hear you.
We can hear you. Can you hear us?
It's the Dave and Wendy show. Are you still there, Dave?
I am. I'm just sticking with him.
Good for that. Yeah, no, the thing is, I have someone I
hear you.
I have someone I know who's with someone, Dave, and they really like them, but this person has been through some tough times in their life. They kind of aren't the person
Wendy?
they were. Yeah, can you hear me?
I am going to try a dramatic fix here, which means I have to reboot my system.
Go for it.
We will probably lose the show for a minute.
Well, we'll see.
Sit tight right there.
We
and
will.
If you guys go away, I've had that happen before. I had the power go out once, and the guest kept talking. I just disappeared. So let's see what happens here.
All right. Well, we'll give it a shot.
Cross your fingers. Knock on wood. I'm going to give a reboot.
Okay.
Here we go.
Well, it's just me and you, Dave.
Yeah, it's just us. Yeah, that's a sticky wicket.
Yeah, it is.
So I still think you just got to be honest.
It's very difficult, though, sometimes to be honest when you don't know them that well, when you're thinking, am I going to offend them by saying this? Because they really like them, and I think they're worried that if they say this to them...
But that's part of the honesty. You step forward and you say, okay, look, I really like you. I care about you.
Yeah.
But there's this issue that's going to get in the way.
Yeah.
If you don't address it, and only you can address it.
And I think it brings up a lot of questions about how honest we really are in our communication with people.
How intimate so is it a hygiene issue?
Yes.
Okay. So how intimate are they?
It's quite new, quite a couple of months, yeah.
Oh, that's long enough. Let's take a shower together.
Okay.
And rub the hell out of that man.
It's interesting, like doing the show with you, Dave. Different dynamics than
totally different
with Scotty.
I'm not going to beat around the bush. I am going to tell you straight out. This is
the Dave and Wendy show. But
we've been together for 2 months. I think that's long enough. Let's take a shower together. Yeah.
But I mean, it also brings up, like, in your
don't mind me if I bring sandpaper and whatever else needs to be done.
it brings up in your relationships, isn't it? Like how, when you're with someone, you're like, I really want to talk about this, but I'm not sure how they're going to react. Years ago, I was in a relationship and I used to think every time I mention this subject, they go off. They just go off like a firework. And I'm really worried how to bring this up and say it to them. And sometimes you think, well, just saying it is the easiest thing to do, but it isn't, because you're worried how they're going to react, how they're going to respond. Sometimes you're walking on eggshells, sometimes you haven't got the courage to say it, so it's not always easy.
Yeah, see, I lived with hippies for quite a long time when I was on the Renaissance circuit, and there'd be a long line at the shower and somebody would just grab your hand and go, come on, we're going together. And it's like, okay.
Yeah,
So,
I think I'm reading some of the comments here, and it says from Niall, the problem with that is that if you don't know the person that well, you could affect their self-esteem, and diplomacy has to be a factor. That's a very good point. And Roger Rabbit says, better scrub him down with some dish. And Anita, if you really care for someone, you will tell them. That's absolutely true. But it, you know, and I also wanted to bring this a bit further as like, you know, sometimes you, as I said, you're with someone and you've been with them perhaps a while, Dave, you know, you're in a relationship
yeah.
for quite a while. Maybe your relationship is not the easiest, you know, it's turbulent or up and down, or there are issues there. And you want to say something to someone. What other ways would you say are easy to pass over to someone how you're feeling without dropping, if you're worried or nervous, to how to pass that over?
I just keep coming back to, you just got to be straightforward and honest, and you can be gentle about it and say, look, I don't want to offend you or anything, but here's this issue and it has to be dealt with.
Yes.
You know, or, you know, maybe you're in a relationship and you've heard a rumor that this person you're interested in is seeing somebody else at the same time or whatever.
Yep.
And you have to step in and say, look, I really dig you. I want to be with you, but I don't want to do a polyamorous type thing. Are you willing to be monogamous? Are you still seeing other people?
Mm.
And call that out before it becomes, I mean, because I guess it's one thing if you're in a relationship, and like I was in a relationship at a point where I'd come out of a serious relationship. I was dating this girl. I started dating this other girl. Both girls knew that I was dating other girls, that I wasn't being monogamous because I wasn't interested in that. And our relationships were very casual.
Yeah.
But at some point along the way, one of them decided they wanted to be more serious, and I just broke it off with the other one and said, hey, I'm gonna go this other direction. I still hear you. Can you hear us?
We can hear you. Can you hear us?
Nod your head if you can hear us.
That would be a no. No, he can't.
My audio is still not working.
How weird is that?
I can hear myself. I cannot hear the studio. I have no idea what is the problem.
Somebody that's easily to type in the chat, tell him to go into
I hate this kind of stuff.
Tell him, Scotty,
drives
to
me
go
insane.
Okay. I got to talk over him. Okay. Tell Scotty to go into his audio settings in the computer and see if he's got something that's been
mic is right.
muted
My
off.
mic is picking up.
It must be frustrating for him that he can see our lips move, but he can't hear what we're saying. So we could say anything we want.
I have no sound coming from either of you.
And yet we're talking. And we hear each other.
Mike.
And we hear you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Edit mic settings.
The other thing, Dave, do you find that as you get older, it's easier to say things as well than it is when you're younger?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's because the reality is, if okay, I'm going to tell you, you need to take care of this issue. And if that's going to offend you to the point you're not going to talk to me anymore, then I'm at a place in my life where I'm like, okay,
I have no clue.
I guess I'm going to lose you as a friend. I guess that's.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
You know,
we can hear you. Yeah.
Maybe it's because your shirt's too loud.
Oh, I can't believe you just said that, Dave.
I couldn't tell you why it's doing what it's doing.
How frustrating. I found that as I've got older, Dave, and say more than I used to. I used to have such a problem telling someone, you know, how I really felt about things. I really, really did. I would procrastinate and what if I say this and what if they say that, but what if I say this to them, what if they say that? As I've got older, I think writing stuff down can be very good.
Yeah.
You know, or you know, humor is amazing for getting across certain things, isn't it?
There is that.
There were times when
time is short, and the time we have with people
Very true.
is so short. And so you just have to be honest with people. You have to come out and just say, look, I'm not going to waste time here. This is an issue that needs to be addressed.
And what about when someone said something to you, Dave, that in your lifetime that came out of nowhere and kind of maybe knocked you sideways? How did that make you feel?
I was crushed. And it didn't happen that long ago, a couple of months ago.
Mm.
And I have not yet responded to her. I understand what she's coming from. I don't agree with her interpretation of the situation, but yeah, I have not responded back to her yet.
So
I didn't want to respond back immediately because I didn't want to say something that would be taken the wrong way.
did you feel rejected?
Not rejected. We'd gone out because she was down and stuff, and I was trying to cheer her up.
Yeah.
And so so here's how. So she had kind of a bummer of a week, and I said, hey, let me take you out to dinner. And I said, where would you like to go? And so she picked a place, and I said, yeah, that's fine. And we met there, and we were talking, and the subject of theater came up because she works in theater, and then she was saying how overworked they are right now. And then she started saying, hey, why don't you come and get a job with the Guthrie and take on some of these positions and stuff, because we're really shorthanded. And she started asking me questions about my past, and I was answering those questions and stuff anyways. The next day I get a letter from her, and she goes, really good seeing you, but I thought we were going to cheer me up, and you made me pick a restaurant, you made me do this, you made me. And I'm like, I was trying to make it so that she was getting what she wanted. I didn't want to drag her someplace she didn't want to go or everything. She's a much pickier eater than I am. I'll eat anything, and she's vegetarian and has specific rules and social rules for the restaurants and just all these things. And I'm like, you just tell me where you want to go and I'll take care of it. Yeah. So I thought I was doing the right thing. She was put off by that because I made her make decisions.
It's also an area that a lot of people find difficult, is when someone dies, someone loses someone, and they don't know what to say.
Yeah.
They're frightened to say the wrong thing because it's such a delicate situation in the time. And yet somehow, my mum always said when she lost my stepdad, when they first lose them, they sort of offer cards or food or anything they can. But after time has gone past, people stop talking to you because they don't really know what to say anymore to you.
Right.
They've done all the, so what I'm saying is, like, communication isn't always easy, regardless of what the situation is. Us as human beings, we seem to have a very tough time sometimes really saying how we really feel.
I had a acquaintance of mine who lost his mother a number of years ago, and I was at the service and everything and the dinner afterwards. And I said to him, I said, look, right now you're dealing with it, and it's easy because you're surrounded by all kinds of friends and family. And I said, a week from now, 2 weeks from now, a month from now, when people aren't calling you, to give their condolences, and you're not getting flowers, and you're not having people drop by with food unexpectedly and all this stuff, you're going to feel alone. And I said, call me. I will always be there. And I mean that. And I send that message to a lot of people because that's true. I know that in my own life, in having lost people, that at first everybody's there to console you and all that. And 2 weeks, that's it. That's the length of time humanity gives you. 2 weeks, suck it up, buttercup, and get back to work. And
because my mum, for instance, is in, we call it council property, but I think you call it government something sort of properties. And you have 14 days from the time that she passed to sort everything out and give the property back. So not only you're trying to grieve and come to terms with it, you are also having to deal with that. And I
Even
think,
worse than that, over here, so like you're getting Social Security.
mm,
If your Social Security check comes and you pass away before a certain date in that month, government expects you to give that check back, but you've still got bills to pay for their rent, their electricity, all that stuff. It's like, it's
yes,
crazy.
it's so true. And I do know that, as I said, when my stepdad passed, a lot of people find it very difficult to know what the right thing is to say. And you know, as I said, all kinds of spectrum, from relationship to through bereavement, through anything kind. And also with work, there's another situation, like if you've just started a job, or there's an issue, or you're not feeling comfortable, you're worried about if you say something you might lose your job. Yet again, it's all about how do you broach that situation with confidence.
Yeah, good question.
We're all kind of like, just like, as we say, running around like headless chickens, thinking and asking someone, "What would you say? What would you say?" Because when I was growing up, that was really, we'd all ask everybody else. We'd go over it over in our head and procrastinate about everything. And so I think what I've learned through my years of counselling, through my years of clairvoyance, is that sometimes opening your mouth and saying the right thing, or knowing what the right thing to say, is the hardest thing to do.
Yeah.
I mean, I've even said to people in the past, "You wouldn't say it for me," because you do. You're like, well, when you don't want to go work sort of situation, you go ring up and say I'm sick or something like that, right? But if it's a personal matter, what do you say to someone? Niles made a very good comment just there, and I'm just reading his comment, and he said, "I think in your example, and the issue is hygiene with a new partner, that specific problem can be hard to discuss directly. If it were me, I would first mention it to a mutual friend." Roger says that that's similar to what happened when my daughter was born. Once people knew there were complications, they poured out support at first, and 8 years into special needs life, 95% of those people are gone. Hi, Paige, great to see you. Niall, I think with the bereaved, it is better to be supportive, but mostly silent. We tend to say things we think may help because it's expected to say something. Whilst I agree with that, some of the people that I've known, they either want what Niall says, complete silence, or they don't want.
Yeah.
The other half really wants someone to be there and talk to them over it,
But the easiest way to deal with that is to just, instead of saying, "Hey, I understand you have this situation in your life," just say, "Is there anything I can do to help?
Yeah.
Do you need someone to talk to? Do you need someone to, sometimes you just need a shoulder to cry on, or someone to listen and
And
stuff."
the other situation, Dave, is when you have to break up with someone. That's a very difficult one to do, because you're like, oh my God. If you've just started to see them, maybe it's not so easy. I mean, that's Scotty and I already talked about in our first episode, ghosting, how so many people just, go like this.
Yeah.
But if you like them and you're not that way inclined, and you want to, have that discussion, how do you find the courage to say, "Look, I don't want to be with you more. I think you're lovely, but you're not for me." It's so difficult.
Very true. Very true.
We've all been there and being told, "So it's not you, it's me," and it's like, really, really. Scotty is with
But
us.
again, I just keep coming back to, so if the relationship isn't working for you, and a relationship has to be a two-way street. Both people have to give, and both people are taking
Yeah,
and stuff. If that's not the way the relationship is, then it's not a relationship.
yeah,
Okay. And so if you're in a relationship and you realize you're the one that's giving, 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 and all they're doing is taking, 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 and there comes a point where you shouldn't put yourself through that.
yeah.
Okay. And you have to let it go. And I think there you just, again, have to be honest. You have to sit down and say, "Look, here's how I'm seeing things." And if you're seeing this differently, because there are people who deal with relationships differently, and maybe by just laying everything out on the table, they will say, "Oh no, that's not how I meant that. That's how I meant that this way, or I meant that way, or whatever." Then maybe you're in a situation where you can say, "Okay,
Yeah.
let's try this again. We'll give this some more time, but I need to see more from you. I need to see more in return for what I'm doing."
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know how men in Britain are. Men here can be, I don't think stoic is really the word I want to use, but
Mm.
th- women often complain that men don't take time to talk with them.
Yeah.
And what they're really saying is men don't take time to listen to them.
That's the difference, isn't it? Talking and really listening, because listening skills are they were worth their weight in gold, because everybody can say they hear.
I'm sorry, what were you saying?
Get, exactly right.
Oh,
I'm here. Don't
sorry.
panic. Don't panic.
I
I
couldn't help it.
Years ago I discovered that sometimes if you have a if you're in a you've got a difficult phone call, sometimes if tape yourself or whatever, you hear back. And I learned this with counseling, because sometimes in counseling situations, if agreeable with the clients, you tape the session, and they will, as you often listen back to it to see if you've missed anything, or they can listen to it as well. It's a very good it's a very good technique to say, look, you might have thought you heard what I said, but actually you didn't. And I think it's also how you get something across. It's not what you say, but it's how you say it, right?
Yep.
And we did a very powerful technique, which I would actually ask if anyone's in this position to do. If you get a chair, an empty chair, and you put it in a room, comfortable wherever you are, and you sit on that chair opposite, imagine the person you want to talk to and say those things to in front of you, and go through it. Say all the things you want to say to them, to that empty chair. Incredibly cathartic, incredibly powerful. And it's actually, once you actually say it and get it out, it can actually be a whole new experience for you. I don't know if you've ever done that, or you've gone over in your mind imaginary, I'm going to say this and I'm going to say that. But I think we tend to tie each other up in knots, especially if we date someone or are with someone who's not as talkative as we are, who
Yeah.
are perhaps reserved in themselves, and we're the bouncy one and they're not. And it's like, oh, why aren't they? I find that sometimes very difficult. If I learned to be more confident through counseling. I learned to be more confident through clairvoyance and dealing with so many people. But I still get nervous. I still have apprehension. I still have moments where I can't say what I want to say. But if you're dating someone or with someone who's completely different to you, and they haven't got that confidence, sometimes it can be that silence, that awkwardness.
Yeah. When I was with Amy, she was very introverted and reserved.
Mm.
And I'm not any of those things.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I moved into this small town she was living in. And inside of 3 months, I knew all the kids' teachers at school. They all knew who I was. I knew teachers that weren't the kids' teachers. I knew all kinds of people. I knew the people at the grocery store and the gas station and the bar down the street and just all of that, right?
Yeah.
And she had lived in this town for the better part of 10 years and knew the lady that lived next door and somebody that lived across the street and somebody that lived 2 houses up that had kids that the kids played with.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it. In 10 years, she knew 3 people in town. And she was like, I don't understand how you know all these people's names. I'm like, I have conversations with them almost every day. So you just talk to strangers. They're not strangers. That's Bob. That's Frank. That's I
Yeah.
literally get to know them and they cease to be strangers and they are just people that live in town. And
I can take that where you're coming from, because when I came to Calgary, the first time I came to Calgary to be with which he wasn't at the time, he was just the guy that I was dating before he became my husband. I was walking around in a town, I knew nobody. I had to walk. You know, he was gone from 8:30 in the morning till midnight because he was in fine dining. I couldn't really sort of stay at doors all the time, so I used to walk around this little town, Kensington, and I would listen. I'd go to a coffee store and I'd listen to people, which you don't mean to, but you're desperate for conversation. So you
I
hear
hear you.
something and you're like, oh, you're British, or you know, that's how you build friends. But it takes a lot of confidence or putting yourself out there. And you and I, Dave, obviously have become better at it over the years. You know, we've become more confident, but some people aren't. Here's the main man. He still
Can't hear
can't.
us?
No.
Oh my God.
Let me interrupt you guys for just a second. They're working on it with StreamYard, trying to figure out why the sound is not coming through. I can't even hear you on YouTube, but apparently everybody else can. So
Which is
something's
good.
up with
You should just call in. Let yourself into the show and join the show as a phone in.
Are you hearing me now?
You call
Can
in.
you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
You can.
But
all right, Wendy
you
can hear me, folks.
Call in.
Dave can too, I think.
Yes.
Can you hear me on YouTube, everyone over there?
Yep.
Sorry,
tell him to just, everybody on YouTube, just tell him to call in and join the show via the
so
phone.
Far,
yes.
He can hear me and he can hear the guests. Now, Evan is listening in. Evan, if you can hear me, I can hear myself coming through my computer. I cannot hear my guests, but you can hear all three of us over on YouTube. And of course, this is valuable airtime. So, folks, all of you listening, those of you in Calgary, those of you over in England, those of you all across the United States, you know what? This is circulating radio. That's what we call this. I can hear, yes, I've got sounds coming from my computer. I can hear, you might even hear a little bit of the feedback. If I bump my sound way up, hear that feedback? That's coming from my computer. So, folks, you're hearing me talking to Evan. The guest is suggesting you call into the show. Well, that's technically what I've done here. I could call in on the phone, but then it's not going to be in sync. So
join the show just like I did.
Hear sound from my computer.
Let me just read some of the comments.
I can talk to Dave. It's not going to sync with my voice, but let's give this a try.
Oh, it's live. It's live.
And we'll have to figure out why this isn't working, folks. Sorry. If Wendy can, we'll stick around a little bit past the top of the hour if we can get things working here. So
she's not going anywhere.
Apparently,
let's see. I will call Uncle Dave Potter.
No, you call the show and streamline. No, don't call me.
I hate these phones.
Don't call me. Don't call me. Call your streamline.
I'm go on.
Well, it's one of those days, folks, where everything is just not going to plan. And I'm sure you've all had that. Well,
no.
I think the problem is it's not us. It's I think it's some place, isn't it?
Okay. Somebody on the chat explain to them to use the streamline link and just call into the show.
15 years? No. Here we go. All right. I'm going to call Dave.
Don't call me. What the hell is that going to do? Don't call me.
Don't call you?
No.
Well, who said to call you?
Let me type this up very, very
call into the show.
Yeah.
So I hear nothing, Evan. If you're over there still listening.
So
Evan, if you can hear me, tell him to dial into the show through the streamline link.
Tell somebody to do something that's a difficult thing.
What I would tell people is
right now,
message Scotty on Facebook Messenger and tell him to use Facebook to come into the show. So if someone could just tell him to do that, that would help. In the meantime, Dave and I should actually carry on because the show's got to carry on. Where were we?
The show must go on.
What was that? What we were coming up to, Dave? What was it we were talking about? It was like, oh, if you're with someone who's a different type to you, and we're not as confident. Like how, you sometimes do you feel like we are? This has been said before. They're quite happy to stay in the background, or they feel intimidation or anything like that. It's so difficult, isn't it?
Curious, however.
how far, like, communication is everything, and yet people say it's easy,
See
but it's
if
not.
I can call into the show
There you go. He's just bingo.
in a different program.
So sorry about this, everybody. I'm just reading down here into the show, so I'm missing. Okay.
Evan says it seems there's a setting on the device or the sound system not letting you hear anything. You click a random YouTube video and see if you can hear anything. I'll give it a shot.
I can hear that on Facebook, so that's
Let's
cool.
see.
Do you know what we should do, Dave? We should do
Right
Desert
here.
Island Discs. That's the next one.
I'm going to turn down mute my mic, guys, for a second.
On Desert Island Discs, but, the other thing is, what if you feel intimidated by somebody?
That doesn't happen very often. Okay. That doesn't happen. But
I got no sound. I got sound coming from my computer, but not from YouTube, not from anywhere else.
I don't understand. I have on occasion. So
something Evan asked me to do. Click a random YouTube video to see if I got sound coming in.
As free as I am with words and have the ability to just say anything.
Well, hang on. I'm going to go mute for a minute.
There was a young lady
you guys keep talking.
Out at the Renaissance Festival a number of years ago, and every time I was around her, I was tongue-tied. I could not say a word.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to say the wrong thing. And there was a point, it's just downpouring, and they have around the festival site here and there places for people to go to get out of downpours and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We're in this shop trailer. It's basically like a motorhome without furniture and stuff in it. And there's a bunch of us entertainers packed in there. And the strength of my wit that day was to say, some weather.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm finally in a situation where we're shoulder to shoulder. I could have a conversation with this girl, and all I could get out was some weather. And that was it. It was like, and I'm like, oh my God, you just sound like a total idiot. What the hell was that?
And do you feel like you wanted the ground to open up and swallow you?
Oh yeah, big time. Big time. I think I'll just go stand out in the rain now.
The Dirty Dancing movement, isn't it? Where she says, I carried a watermelon. And as I said, it's not easy because you could be in awe of someone. And that's the thing which I find as human beings, if you feel intimidated or you're in awe or you're totally into that person, sometimes just saying, hey.
That's what I was talking about.
He got it.
How are you, Scott? Oh my God, now we can't hear you.
You got one for each side.
Oh, now I can hear you. Can you hear us? No. Oh my God. What the hell?
We're we are so sorry about this, everybody. Normally Robertson would be full on par, but it's one of those things with technical difficulty, and Mr. Roberts is having a few probs, so it's just me and Dave today. We're doing it live and raw.
The show must go on.
Show's got to go on, and we thank everybody for being incredibly patient and leaving all the supportive comments as well, because at the end of the day we couldn't get anywhere without you. But just to say, if you are in that situation where you are finding it really difficult to say something to somebody, you're not alone. There's a lot of us in the same boat that do it, and take some comfort as in the fact that sometimes saying things to someone who means a lot to you or someone you're in awe with or with work is the hardest thing you'll ever have to do, especially if you're going to say something which is going to change things forever.
Right. So when I worked out in Hollywood, I would occasionally find myself in conversations with people that I grew up in awe of, whether they were actors or producers or directors, big names. And what I learned way early on is that, first of all, we're all in the same business.
Yep.
Okay. Our jobs are different, but we're really all the same people. And it doesn't matter how many movies you've made or whether you're a huge star or a director or any of that. most people just want to be treated like people.
Absolutely.
They don't want to be fawned over. They don't want to have. And so I learned very early to just swallow that. If I were, it was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, it's a, and then just go into a conversation with them about something completely mundane that they're going to relate to, because everybody has these conversations, and get the ball rolling that way, and introduce yourself and stuff, and just have the conversation, and they become so relaxed at not having you go, oh my God, you're my favorite, oh my God, I've seen everything you've ever been in, and oh my God, and not coming out that way, but just like, have you seen such and such yet? What do you think of that film or whatever? And just start the conversation, and then go on with it. Or if you're there in a working situation, you're talking about something within the project you're working on,
Yeah.
and turn off that fanboy or fangirl side and just have the conversation with them. And ultimately what happens is they keep coming back to you because you talk to them like a real person.
Yeah.
They don't have this barrier between you and them. And so throughout the production, you'll find yourself in many conversations with that person, because they feel comfortable hanging out or sitting next to you, because they can just have a normal conversation. They aren't being asked for photographs and autographs and everything else. And I think the same philosophy when you meet somebody that you're smitten with, that you like, is to just have a normal conversation with them the best you can. And the worst case scenario is they're going to walk away thinking you're some kind of dweeb. And they don't know who you are in the first place. So does it really matter if they walk away and it doesn't work? Well, you put the effort out there.
I can relate to that, because some years ago I actually dated someone who was quite well known, and I felt completely out of my league in some ways. My confidence wasn't, I was younger, and I just, I was like, why would they want to be with me? Why would they want to date me? And it is a lot of things to do with confidence, and I think with age as well, you get that confidence. And I would hope that my partner, is he back with us, would agree.
You can hear us?
I can hear you now.
Hey, just as the end.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. I had to disconnect us from the radio stream. And so there's something in the hijacking software that's giving me a problem that I'll obviously have to look at another time.
Yes.
Now that I'm here, hey, should we start this conversation now?
Yeah.
We're just finishing up. We're just finishing up, Scotty. Thanks for joining us.
Evan over there at StreamYard. Thank you for helping me out. I'm going to have to figure this out off air. It's always frustrating when you have a problem when you're on air and trying to work through whatever that problem is. It's taken roughly about 50 minutes to get here.
Yeah.
And so I hope you guys had a good conversation. None of it was picked up by the radio station. There's something in the audio stream that wasn't working. So,
well, that's it. Tomorrow night, Scotty, we're just going to have to do it all again on your show.
Now I'm not hearing you.
Now he's not hearing us now.
You're not hearing us? You're not hearing us?
And
I'm not sure what happened. Now I can't hear you guys.
The YouTube has heard us live, but the radio station has not.
Oh, now I can.
Is that right?
You hear us now.
That time I accidentally muted myself. So
the radio didn't hear anything, but YouTube has.
There we go. Oh, YouTube can hear me?
Yes, I think they can.
Yeah.
They hear me yell fuck really loud at one point?
Yeah.
No, we didn't hear that.
Okay. I took myself off air. So, and we're not on the radio station right now, so we're good.
Well, that's a shame.
Yeah.
We were talking about, like, Scotty, when you're with someone and you can feel a bit intimidated or not confident enough to say what you need to say, whether it's regardless of what the situation is, regardless of what it is. Maybe you feel like they're more they're more than you. Maybe you feel like you're not enough. How do you find that in your lifetime you've dealt with that?
When they are not good enough for me, are you saying?
Where you're feeling that perhaps you've been
You're
not.
feeling intimidated by them.
Oh, when I feel intimidated by them?
Yeah.
I will be honest and say I'm rarely intimidated by someone else.
Yeah, I know. I'm the same way, but it happens.
People don't intimidate me. However, I can get nervous. If I was a dating man right now, I could be really nervous trying to date somebody, trying to put out the good first impression, trying to am I acting the right way? Am I doing the right thing? As a matter of fact, just for this show, you know what I did today? I took an extra long shower ahead of time. So I took a shower, I washed my hair like 3 or 4 times, scrubbed my naughty bits, and put on some lotions. I even got lotion in my eyes.
Wow.
And but I'm all lotioned up. I stink purty because I wanted to make a good presentation for the show. Not for you, Dave. Sorry.
I'm going. I can't smell you through the radio, dude.
That's true. That's true.
It's nice that but I can't scratch and sniff here and smell you, which
that's right. Not here.
No. There's going to be no scratching.
So, what about Rainey? Can she hear the show? Asks Sarah Yusuf. What about Rainey? Did you want to know?
Can she hear the show? I don't know.
Can she hear the show? I don't know. She's doing stuff upstairs, running around. So, and now since we're officially not on the air, we can talk a little more casual.
So how do you feel like when, if you've been with someone or this and you don't know how to say something to someone, you know what you want to do and you've talked about it with a few friends, you've gone over it in your mind. How do you get the confidence to say that?
The confidence to say what exactly? To express
whatever it is you need
about,
to say if there's a subject.
Don't date, says Kelly Clapp. Kelly Clapp. Stick with the Rainy. Dating, did you say Rainy? Stick with the Rainy. Dating is miserable when you're older. Just find a great pal you can go on adventures with. There you go. I think, now, I'm not looking to date anybody.
No.
But going on adventures, that's a different thing. I think that's the way I would handle that, Wendy.
Yeah.
I would find, hey, Dave, guess what? I'm going to let you go.
Okay.
I'm going to make up. Thank you for filling in while we were running down a technical difficulty, which still isn't resolved.
We'll figure it out, man.
All right. I'll
love you, Wendy. Bye-bye.
Hey, darling.
Sure, he loves you. But not me.
And now it's just Robertson, finally.
Now it's Robertson, finally.
I absolutely missed you, my partner in crime. And I have to say, send my love to Mark today. It's a very tough day for him. And I just need people to send their love to him. He's going through a tough time right now.
All right. You have to tell me what you can about that off air. But
I will.
I could message him and see how he's doing.
But we started this show, wasn't it, about there is a situation of someone we both know,
yes,
who is struggling to say something to somebody that is quite personal and quite difficult, and it's easy to say, "Oh, just say it," but lacking in confidence, frightened they're going to hurt them, frightened they'll push them away, and do they just like cut their losses and run? Because it would be easier than leaving that, as Niall said in his comment quite correctly, damaging emotionally.
Yes, I think that kind of a situation could be, how would I say this? You in a situation like that, and you could lose. That's not even the way I want to say that either. It's not about losing. It's about, you might not gain the thing you're after if you have to approach that person with a difficult thing that early on in those early stages of courtship, relationship, dating, whatever it might be. Because what have they said? If you have to work to change somebody else, 9 times out of 10, that's not going to work, and it's not going to stick in the long term. Because unless somebody really wants to change something.
Yes.
Now, somebody that might not smell pretty enough, They might not realize it. So maybe a little nudge might be, hey, I got this great deodorant and soap that you can use. Because and how do you say that? All worried about, we're not so much worried about how they're going to take it. We're
Yeah,
worried about how we're going to be perceived if we speak up and say something. Are we
absolutely.
going to look like a dick, or are we going to, or a das Kunt, as
Mm,
they say? Are we going to? We're afraid of how we're going to be perceived if we speak up,
yeah,
and
yeah.
so I made that adjustment in my life a long time ago to not worry so much about what people think about how I'm saying things or what I'm saying. Let me qualify that better. About
Mm,
what I'm saying, but how I'm saying it is up to me. I have to be diplomatic. Do I have to be romantic? Do I have to be angry?
yeah.
What tone do I need to take when I'm approaching somebody?
Mm,
And so I have worked out over the years trying to be as diplomatic as possible with people when I need to be, but as direct as I need to be when I speak to them. It would be like, I don't know, as simple as, now this is not a problem. Let's say you and I came on in the pre-show,
mhm.
and we're getting ready to go on air in 2 minutes, and I look and you've got, oh, I don't know, a hair stuck to the corner of your mouth, which you'd figure out yourself. But whatever the defect for the moment might be, and I say, "Hey, Wendy, you got a thing hanging right there. Pull that off." Or your camera's tipped way up. Tip that down a little bit.
Yeah,
Um, those are things that are easy because they're in the moment. But what do you do when it's a problem that is of the person's personal hygiene,
yeah,
the way they act, the way they talk, the way
yes,
they treat people? Have you been out with somebody on a date, Wendy, where they treat the staff horribly?
yes.
And what do you say to them when they do? Dude, what are you doing? Why are you
Yeah,
talking that way?
yeah.
I remember sitting out with friends once, very dear friends of mine, and this man was down talking to his wife.
Mm,
We were traveling abroad, the 3 of us and another friend, and, he was bad mouthing her and just rating her up one side and down the other for something what I felt was really dumb. And that's being in the moment, looking at the situation. Maybe they got a long history of this, but I'm
mhm.
watching this and he's just degrading her. And he's going on, and I stopped. I'm eating my food, and I said, "Dude, why are you talking to your wife that way in
Yeah,
front of me?" I said, "That should be kept private. If you guys got an issue with something,
yeah,
take it private." But and so the idea with this illustrative story is that I had no problem speaking up, but it took me a little while
yeah.
because I had to listen for a little bit. I had to figure out, is this the way this is going to be? And this, I'd known these people for 10 years. And I thought, is this the way this is going to be? And I gave it time to soften up. It didn't. And I don't want to say it wasn't abusive language. He wasn't like being verbally abusive to her. He was just being a dick. And I'm like, dude, stop being a dick. You don't like her? I'll take her. That was and I had to use that to lighten it up. But
And
they
I've
eventually
been
ended up divorcing.
in
But
that situation myself. When I was in difficult relationship, I was horrified, and when someone says something, whether it's personal, there are things that you keep within four walls, right? That you
hmm
don't
hmm
you don't put it out there. But what about when someone says something to us, right? We're not
yeah,
saying to them, but someone says something to us that throws us, that
hmm
makes us go second guess ourselves and
yes,
go, am I really like that? Am I really coming across like that?
right,
And sometimes people project their own stuff onto you.
yes,
Expectations, standards, morals, or whatever you want to call it. What do we do then? Because I don't know about you, but I've had that done to me before where someone says something and I'm like, I don't quite know how to take that.
right. Now, I've been there too. I have people all the time. And immediately what goes through my mind, I've trained myself to do this, and maybe everyone listening can do the same thing, is I've trained myself to kind of question it right away, quickly in my head. How do I need to respond to this? Do I take it seriously and deal with it seriously? Do I take it lighthearted, deal with it lighthearted? Do I brush it off by being comedic? Do I say, "Hey, dude, shut up"?
Mm.
And, what do? You have all these different options.
Yeah.
And, when I say I've trained myself, I've gotten to the place where I go through all those things in a split second in my head. It's like, okay, will I be the dick if I respond to him? Will I make what I hate is people who, and you've experienced these kind of people, try to make themselves look better by tapping into what might be a flaw of yours
Yes.
and trying to exploit that for
Mhm.
comedic effect to try to make themselves look better.
Yes.
And I'm like, dude, are you doing what I think you're doing? Because if you are, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
That's my response. But then when you do that, you have to ascertain, is that going to make it look worse? Is it going to make the situation worse? Is it going to intensify any animosity between me and the other person?
Yeah.
And yeah, that's a trait of narcissism, says Sarah Yusuf. It is.
Especially if it's a friend. I mean, we've all had friends, and I use the word loosely, but we've all had people that we think who are friends.
Yes.
And we think they've got our back. And the next thing you know, they stick the knife in, or they say something at your expense. And you're like,
Yeah.
what the hell? Where did that come from? I didn't deserve that. And they look at you and they go,
Yeah.
what was your problem? It was funny. I find
Yeah.
that incredibly difficult.
And it's like, why are you needing to make comments at my expense? Is the question I want to ask them right on the spot. But of
Yeah.
course, then you're stuck in it. Sorry, I was clicking on a couple of things there and I brought the screen in and out. I've been in those situations where you hear those kinds of things coming out of the mouths of somebody that you don't expect that person would say that in front of
Yeah.
other people. You're like, why are you doing that? Now, I don't call them out. There are times I have. I will be honest and say there are times I have called people out for that. Hey, why are you saying that in front of people? And then I try to put a smile on it and make it, hey, that's a private thing. Why are you talking about that way? So yeah, I run into it. What do you do about it? Is the big question. We all face these things.
Yeah.
And I think the worst thing you can do is not do anything about it. The worst thing you can do is shut up. The worst thing you can do is not respond because, and it doesn't always have to be on the spot, but you do have to confront that person.
Yeah.
As boldly as they think that they can take something and exploit it for the sake of making themselves look better or the sake of a comedic effect or whatever, if somebody can take a niche in your armor and use it for comic effect,
Yeah.
and maybe not even realize they're doing that, is somebody that needs to do a little soul searching, a little self-evaluation. How do I talk about people I like, my friends, my lovers, my whoever, my spouse, my partner? How do I talk about them in front of people? What will people's impressions be if I mention this thing or say this thing or whatever? And so we have to be very careful that that's individual responsibility. What do you do when it's done to you? You don't shut up about it. You don't clam up. You might. I've taken the tack of sitting back and going, and I look while they're talking and I go, just the expression. You know what? That was a pretty stupid thing of you to do. But I'm
Mhm.
not going to call you out in front of people the way you just called out a thing of mine or exploited something for comedic effect or whatever. And so those are things how would I say this? Did I really tie that not very well to the question you asked me?
The thing, I mean,
How do we respond to it?
it's like I tend to second guess. I have in the past, something's been said to me, and I will second guess it. I'll go away. Recently, as you well know, something was said to me when I came out of a relationship, which I had absolutely no idea I was coming out of. And something was said to my close friend as well, which was inappropriate. And you just I went to a place of anger, shock, hurt, and
Yes.
also second guessing myself. Is
Right.
this really true? And then I think that the most important thing to never lose sight of is that the true people in your life, whether someone who's just come into your life, they don't know you that well. They don't know you. They don't know how to put things. If you've got people in your life that have known you for a long time and you've gone through so much with them, those are the comments that will either really cut you deep, or they know you so well that they've got your back. And sadly, some of the people that we've had in our life for a very long time and we trust and love are the ones that dig us the biggest holes in our psyche, right?
Right. The first thing that goes through my mind too, well, one of the many things that will run through your mind. It's amazing how many thoughts your mind can process in just a split second when stuff like this happens. And my first thought is, now wait a minute. You're somebody who is my friend. This is in my head. You're my friend, or I love this person. You're supposed to love me, or we like each other. And love, by the way, I'm using that in the general term. I'm not trying to say this is my wife, the person I love in life. I'm not saying that. I'm saying people we love, people we care about, people we have a history with. And you see them do that and you say, in the split second in your head, what would make you say that in front of people?
Exactly. Is
Why
it
would
to
you
get
say
like
that?
they're getting a rise at your expense, right?
Yes. Yes.
And I'm just
And
reading Carlene's comment that says some people don't feel good if they're not saying something at someone else's expenses. I used to run and cry. As I'm getting older, I start telling them, and it really brings up the comment that my nan said to my mum, who's now passed it down to me. When you get older, Wendy, you don't give her words were, you don't give a shit. You just come out and say it, because life is short and you don't worry about what if I say this and what if I don't do that.
right.
And you're true, because I think for so many years, Scotty, we what's the word, procrastinate, we analyze, we overanalyze, we go into ourselves, we second guess. And I think that as you get older, there is that freeing of like, I'm just going to say it, fuck it, I'm just not having that, but and yet there's still the people that we love who say something to us and it floors us.
Yes. And that's when most of these things take place. If somebody I didn't know very well, or somebody that was not in my close personal circle of affection, and they said something like that about me in public, something like that, blank, or whatever it might be, um, I would confront them in an instant.
Yeah.
I'm like, and pardon my language, but the thing that would come out of my mouth would be something like, "What the fuck do you think you know?"
Yeah.
And that would be the way I'd start handling it. And that little statement all by itself, I don't even have to use the Effenheimer. I could say, "What do you think you know about me
Yeah.
that you're sharing this?" That little bit of confrontation right there with a little bit of confidence behind what you're saying. Hey, what are you talking about? That generally can start down the road of they're either gonna start backing off on what they're, oh, sorry, I didn't mean it to say, or they're gonna start doing the, well, I happen to know that they're gonna defend their position. And if they want to defend their position, that's when you have to start realizing or figuring out, when do I step away from this? There's times I've said to people, you know what? You got your audience. Go ahead and have your thing.
That's
You
a
come and
very
talk to
good,
me if you want. And I tell people, if you wanna talk to me personally about this, you know where to find me, and
that's
I'll
a
go
very
somewhere
good
else.
saying. And don't you think that the people that do take a rise out of us for their
Mhm.
own, it says so much about them and shows so much about them. And I've always believed in, maybe it's not always been the right way to be, but taking the moral high ground. And it's like, you know what, you dig a hole for yourself, but you're not taking me down with you. And this conversation today started about how do you say something to somebody that you care about and you don't quite know how you're going to react, how they're going to react. Is it going to
took that in a little different direction.
Is it going to hurt them? Is it going to damage them? And also, what does it say about me? Like, is it saying that I'm shallow? Is it saying that I'm got standards and expectations? And
is it saying I am insecure?
Yes.
All of those things come into mind.
And I think that, and how will other people, I hear that so many times. What will everyone think? What about them? What about that? And it's like, everybody, is a very true saying. What was it? People like us. Was it everyone? What was that saying about ourselves? An opinion. Everyone's got one, right?
Oh, everybody's got one. Opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one.
That's right. And there was some, I was just looking down here at some of the comments. Like,
hey, Allison.
The best people I know are always evaluating and improving themselves. That is so true.
Right.
So true. Because I
always evaluating.
As you know, I went through really second guessing myself when something was said about me and by somebody I actually really liked and cared about, to someone who knows me so well, and they were put in their place, and you just think, well, what if that person hadn't had my back?
Right.
And you start to go in your head. And so I think the whole point of this show that we wanted to do today was like, if you're something you've got to say to somebody, or someone says something to you and you're not quite sure how to take it, what do you do? How do you react? And the answer is, there is no really magic answer to that.
There isn't a magic answer. There is, the best thing you can do is be confident about what you say.
Yeah.
Know what you're talking about. Handle things with diplomacy,
tact,
and decency.
Yeah.
And delicacy if you must.
Yeah.
But what it comes down to is, if you don't say something that needs to be said, a problem could ensue. Now, I took that in that different direction a little earlier here, but if you're in that situation and you want to preserve something or make something better, and you've got to talk about it, you just got to say it. And you got to use decency, diplomacy. I thought I had 3 Ds. I thought I alliterated it. Diplomacy, decency, and no dipshittery. There you go.
Wing it.
So, and I think that's the way you handle these things with people. But it's got to be said. So you ask yourself, if it's got to be said, and somebody's got to say something, God damn it, somebody's got to say something here. Well, you say it.
I knew someone who had really bad gingivitis, so it was just not good, right?
Yeah.
And you
bad breath for those of you coming from
like
White Bear Lake.
You'd be like, oh, they talk to you, and you'd be like, and you just couldn't help it, and you'd feel like, oh my God. And apparently they had been told many times about the situation.
Oh boy.
And it had never been rectified. They tried to, but it was just one of those issues that couldn't be rectified. So for that person that now knew they had that problem, I imagine it was quite awful walking around with their hands like this, in front of their mouth, trying to deal with that.
Yes.
Because once it's out the bag, you can't put it back in.
No, you can't. And, something I got into the habit of doing, I don't have gingivitis, by the way. But I have coffee in the morning.
Yeah.
And I have a couple of cigarettes, especially talking to KB on his morning show.
Yeah.
And coffee and cigarette breath is not the finest in the world.
No.
So I usually, when I'm done doing that, when I'm done having a smoke, I always wash my hands, I'll wash my face, and I'll gargle something. But I've gotten into the habit of carrying breath mints around.
Yeah, we're also worried about Ali. You know, we'll be like, you know, and
Yeah.
in England it's quite well. I mean, I imagine it's everywhere, like mints and everything after the dinner and all that kind of stuff
Sure.
is very important. I mean, talking of England, this is very sad today because this is my last Tuesday in Calgary for a while.
Right.
I head home to London on Sunday, and
Sunday.
I'm looking out the window right now, Scotty, and for quick change of subject, and it's snow. It's like a Christmas card outside.
Or yes,
It
yes.
is really, really beautiful, and
Can you see the mountains from your window?
I absolutely can't, sadly. But
Oh,
it looks like a Christmas card, and I love it. And I have to go home, where apparently snow is forecast in the UK, but it will not come to London. It never comes to London. It's
it's that
it just
city
goes,
factor in the
yeah,
the,
we're
the
right now.
airflow.
We
Yeah.
don't we rarely get it, and it's like I'm so sad to. I've so loved being a part of your show during what would be my middle of the night. I so loved doing, you know, Robertson in the daytime that it's gonna be very hard to go back to being, you
And
know,
doing it at 10 at night. Yeah.
being back at nighttime. And I think I've thoroughly on Canadian American time, but it's like I got to go home, and that's all there is to it. So I want to say it's just been a real privilege to be around in the daylight.
Yeah. It's been nice having you an hour behind me instead of 6 hours in front of me.
Yeah, because
So,
normally, like, it's my nighttime, and you know,
yeah.
you ring up and it's pitch black and I'm off to bed. So I think when I go home, you may still get me to come on your show because I'll be still on Canadian time.
Yes.
But I've
You're
loved.
not you're talking about my show, Intrepid, not this. This
Yeah,
is your show.
Intrepid. But also with Robertson, we do it in the daytime. And
Yes.
now from next week, I'll be back in the
I'll be
dark.
back doing it at night.
But
So
I love doing this show, and I'm so sorry today that I wasn't feeling too great, and I had some bad news, and then on top of that, you had technical problems, but we got there in the end.
we did. We got it in the end.
And I'm
And
just
that's, there's nothing worse than I hated keep coming in and keep talking when I couldn't hear. Apparently, all it's turning out to be is the software that hijacks this stream
yep.
to play on the radio. Something in that software is screwy. It changed my audio settings, and I'm not sure what it is because he couldn't hear us on the radio station, and he could not. And of course, we all knew what my problems were. So I finally had to just shut off the stream, and it worked. So there's
Well, we're
something screwed up
professionals.
in the stream.
We carried on, and Uncle Dave was marvelous, and
Well,
it's
that's
different.
good.
It's different to have a different, you know, because not many people come on the show, you know, especially. But that's where recording, not live,
Yes.
comes in handy, doesn't it? Because you work it out. Well, I suppose, you know, because when we did our first show, remember the we didn't have the titles or anything on, did we?
Right. There was something that didn't work. It wasn't uploaded right.
Yeah.
So there's always something. There's always a little something. And if you can get around it, like if I had a producer, the producer would be working all this in the background.
Yeah.
And I probably, in retrospect, should have just said, hey, you two guys talk. I'm going to take myself out while I do this. And because I can't hear you,
Yeah.
my sound was up. So I was talking over you with stuff. That's a little distracting. So my apologies to the listening audience for that. I hope that didn't deter anyone from listening on and hearing what had to be said. So
We muddled through, didn't we? We muddled through, and we got
muddled through.
And it's like, we've had some lovely comments about Robertson, and I think that
that's good.
Dave said, that he likes to watch the show and listen to it, not always when it's live, and and I think that this is true. I was talking to a friend of mine who has a similar, the audience,
Yes.
it depends what time of day it is, and he was saying that sometimes the more political you are, the more viewers you get.
Yeah.
But that's not really the stance that we wanted to take. We wanted to do Robertson so people could really, they know where we're coming from. They can feel it. They're in for it. That's why we picked this topic today.
And that's what I want too. I want people to understand where we're coming from. You know, when we started the show, we had an idea of areas we wanted to talk about, things, topics. And I like being a topic-driven type of a radio show or a broadcast where you can take topics out of the world. There's a billion topics a day happening in the world where you can tap into any one of those. I like that. But we still had to get our feet on. Where this is only our 6th episode when you think about it.
Yeah.
If we were doing these every day, we'd only be 6 days in, and we'd still be very new. We're 6 weeks in now, and a little bit of time to reflect. And I think we're kind of getting our footing a little bit. Now, 6 episodes. If you go to a television format, 6 episodes is what new shows usually get.
Yeah.
We're giving you 6 episodes to prove your case, and that's why so many times you see, oh, I like that show. Where'd it go? They only did 6 episodes. Well, if they're not selling advertising, if they're not doing their job, or they're not being received well, that show ends at 6 episodes. But then you get extended another 12 episodes if you do well. By the end of that, you'll have 18. And so on and so on and so on. You see what it is. A general season used to be 26 episodes.
We wanted to bring the differences between the English and one comment I didn't mention today, which we can sort of end on, but English people or the culture probably different about if there's something to say, different to the American Canadian. I think the American Canadian is perhaps in some ways a little bit more out there to say it, where I think the English can be sometimes have been known to be more reserved. Or and then I also know English people who are just so blunt, you're like, oh my God, that was a slab of concrete you just hit me with. But it's interesting that cultures, how they're seen in present day, as in the English are reserved, stiff upper lip, they don't say this, that, and the other, and the American and Canadian are more sort of out there, although the Canadians have they all say sorry after everything, which is technically not true.
The Canadians?
The Canadians are supposed to say sorry, sorry, but that's not.
Well, I got to talk to you about this. Sorry, Canadians. Sorry.
But it's interesting that we come from. I think the English do sometimes. We do struggle. It's not the done thing. It's not the done thing to say that. There's a time and a place for that. And I remember my mum saying to me, "Not at the dinner table. You don't have these kind of conversations at the dinner table." And you grew up thinking, well, and now people want to have those kind of conversations at a family dinner table, at a family meeting. How different, And then you have the Aussie. That's
you have the Aussie. You have Amanda comes on and she says, "Blimey, what are all you fucking blokes doing here tonight?" Yeah. Oh wait, that's not Australian.
Yeah.
Crikey.
Good day.
Crikey.
Good day. And it's weird because my cousins, I've got cousins in Australia, and when I first came to Calgary, everybody thought I was Australian. And I was like, do you think I sound Australian? And they were like, oh, yeah, you do. And then my cousins came over and I sat next to them and I said, now you've heard them talk and you've heard me talk. Do you think I still sound Australian? They were like, no, not at all.
You're right. Right.
It's interesting, but I hope that people get something out of Robertson.
Come say hi. So I was just thinking Rainey entered the room. I just asked if she wanted to come up and say hi. She didn't know. So she's eating something.
Well, it's been a pleasure, Scotty. I have to run, but it's like I have enjoyed today's show so much. Let me just read some comments just before I go.
I'm glad you did, and good day, Amanda. So we speak Lizy, she says. We speak Lizy.
Quiet desperation is the English way.
There it is.
Really?
Australians make everything sound like a question, said Sarah.
Canada can be defined in 3 things: maple syrup, hockey, and coldness. I'm not sure I'd agree with that, but I can see why people would think that. What would they say are 3 things that define the British? The royal family, fish and chips, and wedding?
Yeah. What are the 3 things that define Americans from overseas? How do Englanders, British, how do they perceive Americans?
Say it's that's a good question, and I can only give it from my point of view, but I'd say great holidays. Being very loud and saying it as it is, don't have a problem with saying it, or just come out and say it. And also politically correct, too politically correct, probably, actually.
Mandy says the English are hilarious.
Thank you. Thank you, Manda.
Add a Scott, she says.
Add a Scott. That's very, very true. See, look, Michelle, you're quite right. Canadians are friendly, funny, and apologetic. It's so true.
That's right.
They are lovely people.
That's like the little old lady of Perth when I was there back in 1990. Oh, you're so nice. Are you Canadian then? Well, no, we're American. Yeah. So, oh, don't tell anyone.
Well, hopefully next week will be an easy show, and there'll be no technicals, and I will be speaking to you.
No technical snafus that take 50 minutes of the show to try to figure out. So, well, Wendy, good having you. Well, I didn't have you. We do this together.
Well, right back.
So we had each other, so to speak. You're not a guest on this show. This is your show too. Right. So it's great having you. There, I said it again.
It's great having you too, and it's great It's great not just having you back. It's great hearing you as well.
Yeah, and finally. So, all right. Well, we'll try this again next week. By episode 7, maybe we'll have these kinks worked out and make it work.
Thank you, Anita. I appreciate that. I will hope it's a safe trip home and I don't get an allergic reaction this time on the journey home. Yes.
Right. So, everyone, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. Live long and prosper. And we'll see you all next week at the same time. Take it easy. Here we go. Going out. Boom.